Hi there, it's David Leddick with Come On Out with David Leddick. Today I have a friend of mine, Mr. Oliver Davis, who's going to talk to us about his life, his dreams, his wishes, etc., 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 okay? And we're going to start with the question that we always ask first. Oliver, when did you really first realize that you liked guys better than gals?
I'm not sure specifically about guys versus gals, but knowing that I was gay and knowing that I was different than everybody else was, I'm inclined to say, from my first memories. I remember being very, very young, like 3 or 4 years old at least, and even before I knew exactly what it was, knowing.
Did you have any kind of childhood crushes on comic strip people or television people or anything?
Nothing like that, but I was definitely more drawn to males, to adult males even, in a physical sense, and maybe identified more with females in that same physical sense.
Where were you from?
From outside of DC, Maryland.
Okay, because a lot of times when people are young, they kind of like, I love Flash Gordon, they're so tired of hearing that, and they like, you know, different, but
I
you
love
weren't.
Charlie's Angels,
Yeah.
Wonder Woman,
well,
things
that's
like that.
true.
Because I wanted to be like them,
yeah.
I identified with them. But as far as attraction, yeah, I was definitely more attracted to male figures and things like that.
I wanted to be Marie Antoinette. I used to go to grade school and pretend I was wearing these huge dresses and be careful how I sat down at my desk. Anyway, so how old were you? What happened when you first kind of acted? I don't mean slept with, but kind of something happened between you and another guy that you realized, okay, this could happen.
When I was sort of in the time frame of leaving high school, I had a best friend that I felt very much in love with, and he was not gay, and we never did anything specifically, but he was certainly sensitive to it, and he, I think, was aware of it, at least on some level, and so that kind of developed definitely there was a relationship of sorts there, you know, so that was sort of the beginning of me knowing what I wanted and what I intended one day to have.
And where is he?
He's in Orlando, not far. I still haven't seen him, but we correspond.
Is he married?
A couple times a year. He's divorced, just recently divorced. He has 2 kids.
Well, listen, you never know. You never know. I just got the blog this week. I just wrote about somebody was saying. I said, you know, if they're not dead,
right? No, I don't think so. But it is I'm very lucky because he was very sensitive to it.
Yeah.
You know, I think he definitely knew that I was in love with him and was very accepting of that.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't reciprocated that way. So he was a good guy.
So, and when would you say that you were kind of like okay with being officially a gay person in other people's eyes?
When I was a little bit later, I moved out west, and by the time I was about 22 or so, I pretty much started just living completely gay and became very comfortable with it, and therefore...
Where?
In Seattle.
And what about your parents?
Well, and then that was what I was good at. Once I became comfortable with it myself, I didn't really care anymore what anyone else thought, so I just sort of started living very matter-of-factly gay. I didn't really have a big coming out or announcement, but I just started bringing boyfriends home and, you know, talking about things in my life, just very matter-of-factly.
And your parents
didn't really worry about
were
what anybody
okay
thought.
with this?
Yeah, I didn't really give them the opportunity to have an opinion. You know, I just sort of, that was the way it was, and so once I was comfortable with myself, I wasn't so concerned about what anyone else thought.
You weren't afraid of their rejection?
No, in fact.
But where were they? They were still outside Washington?
They were between DC and here, yes.
Yeah.
And, and with the world in general, I mean, I'd say that was about 22 or so, and by the time I was 23, I remember having a boyfriend in the middle of New York, walking down the street hand in hand, and he kept pulling his hand away, which I couldn't conceive of that. Like, once I was out, that was it. I just, you know, I didn't care what anybody else thought.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a kind of a difference in age groups. A lot of, you know,
yeah,
I think
it's true.
younger people, I think they think other things are more important. They're not concerned what other people think.
Sure.
It's something that I hustle a lot in. But when you went to Seattle, you must have had a first encounter with somebody.
Yes, I did.
Would you care to tell us? Was it a real person or was it in a parking lot?
The very first one was a guy that worked in the grocery store that I just thought was really cute and this and the other. And somehow along the lines, one of my best friends, she was a girl, she hooked us up. She told him, and we ended up, I don't know if we went to dinner or whatever, and that was the first time I had a sexual encounter. And
but you did go on a date.
I think so. I can't remember, honestly, that well. It didn't go that well, any of it. I mean, it was pretty quick, and you know.
Was he more
and I never saw him
experienced
again
than
after
you
that.
were?
Yeah, he was a good bit older. I would say he was. I was probably like 22 or so, and he was probably 30. So he was a little bit older, and but that was the beginning. And then I did get a pretty steady boyfriend shortly after that. About maybe I would say within a month or so after that, that I dated pretty steadily for a couple months at least.
So can we ask what your situation is at the moment for our viewers?
Yes, now I'm in a relationship for about
Sorry,
2 years.
folks.
It's going on for about 2 years. So
Uh-huh.
it's,
Good, good. And you are a resident of Miami Beach.
I am,
What do
yes.
you do?
I sell real estate right here on the
Uh-huh.
beach.
Okay. Oliver Davis, remember that name. If you're here in Miami and you're in Miami Beach and you want to buy some property, Oliver, what should they do?
They can look for me at oliverwdavis.com or call me if they like. Well, my phone number's on there.
oliverwdavis.com is who you should look for. Thanks very, very much. We will see you again next week.